Oh, there we
All
go.
right.
That's weird.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird. I think I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm downstairs in an office building,
Oh,
so there's a little bit more of an echo. That's probably why.
I had a list of things that we could talk about.
Sweet.
Uh, like too much freedom, too fast, not great. Why it backfires. The delayed reveal, so like dogs, you know,
Yeah. Showing
after two
behaviors later on.
weeks, yeah, they start to like their true behaviors come out.
Yeah.
And then reading your dog before trying to fix anything. And then the one thing shelter dogs need more than training.
Okay. That's a good list to start with. Um, so yeah, let's get kind of get started with
Grounded
this.
dog, hello.
So first of all, if you're joining, and for people that are coming in and watching this later on, because this will be able to be viewed as a replay. Um, if you're having problems with your dog, need some help, there is a link in the bio to book a call. And so I would highly recommend doing that. If you go onto the profile of Kindred Dog PDX, you can click that link and schedule a free clarity call, right? You're going to talk about your dog, talk about your goals, things you've done, and then kind of come up with a plan to start seeing results. So if you need help, click that link in the bio.
Yes. We also have
And
online training programs available too, as well. DIY stuff. So just a online training course. And then we have a 4-week essentials that is a little bit more coaching. We got weekly coaching calls with that. So you can ask questions and make the adjustments necessary through the week. But you can see huge results with your dog in just 4 weeks by really working on the fundamentals with your dogs. Front Porch Books, thanks for joining. You've been following the page for a little while. I think you've shared some of our stuff, which I appreciate. So this live is going to just be talking about what it is that we should be focusing on when we bring a new dog into the home. Things that you can expect, things to look out for. I have a list of stuff here. Uh,
so before we kind of get jumping onto the list, I wanted to bring something up. Like, just throughout the years, and also just recently, had calls with people, and they have a dog at home, and it's causing headaches. And then you talk to the people, right? And you're just like, hey, what's going on? Oh, the dog counter surfs. It pulls things off the counter. It chews on the furniture. It constantly barks at me. Like, there are just a bunch of behaviors from the dog that cause stress, right? And then when you kind of dig deeper into that, like, this is just something that's been going on, but also building. And when you talk to them, you can hear the people, like, they're just like, I'm at my wit's end. And when you kind of ask a little bit, dive deeper, and you're asking, like, hey, what have you been doing? And it's just like, you see, it's like nothing has been done. The dog has just been in the home, right? And then just been practicing things, and things are just evolving, and now they're at the point where they are at.
mm-hmm.
you know? And so that's kind of where this comes from. It's just like, what do you do when you bring a dog home? What should your expectations really be when you bring that dog into your house, whether it be a puppy or an older dog?
Oh, they're a foster with Match Made in Heaven. Cool. Always looking to learn more and share with others. Really appreciate the way you make things accessible for the untrained human. That is what we strive for. Me and Shane both. We have a long history in jujitsu, and I think that really um, what's the influences how we coach people, because in the jujitsu class they get people who have no martial arts history. I was one of them. Shane was one of them. I mean, we did stuff when we were kids, but like not a strong martial arts history. So we see these things all the time, and how our coaches present things to people. Um, we have come to understand that like the fundamentals are where it matters the most. You can't, all that fancy stuff that you might see comes later. It's all a result of doing the fundamentals, you know? So that's what we strive for. We strive to get people to understand that the fundamentals are the most important thing for you to be thinking about first before trying to go after any big behavioral things that you might be experiencing with your dogs. So real quick before we get into this, we're going to be having like a little Q&A. We'll be taking some time in this hour to just see if anybody has any questions. So if you have some, just hold on to them. Probably like I would say like 11:20 or something. We'll take a little pause, see if anyone has any questions, continue back on, take another little pause, if there's anything that pops up for you um, in this time frame. So as Shane was saying, people, when we talk to them, they're not, it's not that they're maybe doing nothing. It's just they don't really know what to do. They just might be like doing some really basic things that I think are what we come to understand as like, this is what you do with a dog, you know? They could be waiting for food. Okay. Um, they could be going into a crate, maybe not going into a crate, but like, and they're going for walks, So they're trying to exercise the dog. They're trying to provide some structure for the dog. Um, but they could be doing too much too soon, right? So in these topics that we'll cover, so the first one we're going to talk about is like why too much freedom too fast backfires. So I only mentioned maybe they're going to a crate, maybe they're not. They're waiting for food and they're like going on walks. And like those walks are probably not super structured. The dog's probably pulling. Again, these are assumptions, but after 11 years of training dogs, this has been the thing that we see often. Okay. Um, but then after that, the dog has got free reign of the house. So then this opens the door for your dog to be barking out the windows, following you around the house, pacing all the time, constantly just in movement, you know? Um, and this can actually create an anxious dog. Okay. Think about decision overload. You know, there's just so much going on that you can't focus on one thing. And that's what causes anxiousness. We've talked about this in another episode, another live, but like because our dogs are predator and prey animals, they are designed to be like aware of their surroundings. And again, they don't understand that they're in a house with walls and nothing can actually get them. In their brains are like, I have to manage this whole space in order to keep myself safe. And so by the human providing more structure and more information for your dog, you can actually help them feel safer. So I think we're going to pull maybe from our board and train experience for a lot of these things, because the dogs that come in for a board and train are coming from places, loving homes, but they've had a history of doing whatever they want. Okay. And they're exhibiting behaviors, undesirable behaviors. So when a dog comes into a board and train, What do they do? Shane, maybe you can elaborate on like what does it look like in that first week when a dog comes into a board and train?
It's a lot of structure, right? Like your ability to make decisions is not there. It's like because you don't know how to make good decisions. That's why you're here. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so it's like, yeah, like you will go out, you'll pull your dog out of the crate, right? And it's like, I'll put you on a long line. You can move around, but I'm watching. So you can't make a bad choice. I can have my leash to block the behavior, right? I can influence you. I can talk to you. I can give you guidance with the leash. Like, there to help be proactive in what the dog is doing. You know what I mean? And again, it's just like you're not going to just disappear out of sight. And is this getting blurry? I might need to change my location
No, it's okay
for
right
my
now.
connection. Okay. Um, and so like if you bring a dog into your house and you don't have a leash on it, it's just going to do whatever it wants. You know what I mean? So it's like the dog is on a leash because it's like, well, do you really have trust in the dog already? I don't even know you really. I know like what your contact form says. I know what your owners have told me, but it's like I don't know the dog. I have to learn the dog, right? And so I do that by observing and also interacting with the dog. So it's like you're on a leash, so I can just at least have some kind of control over you. And then our interactions are pretty much like very constructed, right? I'm going to work you for your food, something very simple, or we're going to play, or try to play, or we're going to just like hang out and we're going to move around. You know what I mean? But it's like they're very intentional interactions with the dog. So I can get
Mm-hmm.
to know the dog and see just like what they do. What kind of choices do they make? Oh, look, you go by the door and then you start scratching. It's like, let's go this way. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or like just you can just there's so much benefit to observing to see what the dog does because that's also going to help you guide in what you kind of need to do. You know what I mean? Hey, Fido, Fido. Do they really know their name? Do they know? Do they have a recall? Even though they say that's like, yeah, they come sometimes. 70% recall, and it's like you start, hey, come here, come sit here. You know what I mean? And it's like they don't respond to that, and so
Yeah.
it's just like okay, it's just like you just start to gather information from the dog just through like observing and just like kind of dinking around with the dog and seeing what they do, and so again, like one removing their ability to just kind of be free and make all the choices is going to help create a different picture of like, hey, things are a little bit different. I'm going to kind of show you what the ropes are here, and then obviously as time goes on, it's like the management scales down because the
Mm-hmm.
dog starts to understand what the expectation is.
Yeah. And usually what we also see is the dogs softening up. When they first come in,
Yeah.
their like eyes are bulging out of their heads, they're frantic, they are spastic, they're doing all of this stuff. And by slowing them down mentally and physically through the structure, we actually see them start to uh like let go of the reins a little bit. They start to be like, oh, I can follow this human, you know, and the dogs just start to calm down on their own, you know. Like I said, they soften up, they start to relax a little bit better on their beds, they relax in the crates, because they understand that like, oh, I don't have to worry about this stuff, and so and we're also building a connection. Shane was mentioning like we're going to work the dog for their food, we're going to try to play with them if they will play, um moving around with them on a leash, like that ability to influence them from a distance, right? Yeah, you can go to the end there, you can sniff that book, and then we're like, let's go, boom, and we're moving, and now we're moving together though, and these are things that help build a pack mentality,
You know,
Um,
I'm going to chime in really fast. So it's like, you mentioned like the softening up thing, and I can't tell how many dogs would come in, and it's like they just like the constant panting, and like, even ask the people like, is this what they do at home and stuff? And they're like, yeah, they pant a lot. You know what I mean? But then it's like, as you see them start to like soften up, you see that panting just go down, where they're not
mhm.
just looking like they're stressed out. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And so that's just like, just things that you see because things become predictable for the dog.
exactly. And that predictability creates clarity. That clarity and predictability creates safety and trust in us. Too many times we see just here's the home, and it's just too much responsibility for that dog at that time. It's not to say that this is forever. It's I got to show you the way. And once I've shown you the way and we've practiced the way, then I can give you more liberty, but too much too soon is pretty much like throwing them in the deep end and hoping that they're going to swim.
Yep.
And then you're
Yep.
jumping in to save them because they're drowning. And you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, I did too much too soon." Right? But that's a reactive response. I'm throwing you into the deep end and now I'm coming in to put out the fire. Whereas you take a more proactive approach. Hey, we're going to slow things down, right? I'm going to tell you where to be sleeping right now. I'm going to tell you where we're going to be eating now. I'm going to be telling you what we're going to be doing right now so you can learn what the right choices are. It's like I'm all about it, giving your dog the opportunity to make the right choices, but I feel like a really moment in time where it's like I need to help show you what that right choice is before I give you the opportunity to like what choice are you going to make at this moment in time, because they're never going to make the right choice if they don't know what that choice is. Okay.
Exactly.
So you got to like you got to show them the move. I got to show you the move several times before it starts to become like, oh, wait, I remember doing that thing one time. What happens if
Yeah.
I do that again? Oh,
Yep.
something good came my way, you know?
Yep.
So too much freedom too soon is just, it's too much responsibility. And I get why we do it. We just adopted a dog and, maybe they came from a not great situation and we want to show them that we care. And so we say, here's all the stuff. And it actually goes counter to what your dog really needs in that moment.
Yep. Yep. It's like, it's definitely, I think very much like it goes with like, like, yeah, you brought the dog in, you want to give it everything that they have, especially with the older dogs or like young puppy, or it's just like, I just want to show you all the love. And it's like, comes from a meaningful idea, but they need to learn the ropes first.
And so it's like, what does loving your dog look like? You know, I think I think sh- I think prioritizing what your dog needs is the best sense of love, right? You're like, I want you to be so successful in life that I am willing to do the hard things, which is, yeah, maybe you are sleeping in a kennel, maybe you are going in a crate during the day. Maybe I am teaching you how to go lay down on a dog bed and not pace around the house. Maybe I am walking only from light post to light post for several weeks so we can develop this skill of walking. Like there's a
It
certain extent
it's
where
it's
I'm
not just the pets and the cuddles and the come lay on my bed and sleep with me.
exactly
Right.
that could even be counter to what you want
Counterintuitive.
ultimately.
Exactly.
That could be setting you and your dog up for just like how your dog views you in general. It's okay to do those things, but oftentimes that side that we're talking about is the thing that's missing. It's not hard for people to cuddle with their dogs. Like that's the easy stuff. Um, the hard part is having them sleep in a crate, you know, and
So
doing that.
why do you think that is the hard part?
Um, I think it might be the hard part because I want the dog to be with me, you know, and because I did this with my own dog when I adopted Ozo. I'm pretty sure he was sleeping in the bed the first night. Um, but it makes me feel good,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know, and obviously the dog probably likes it too, you know, but like, I mean, a lot of dog trainers will equate like dog training and stuff like that to like drug rehab and all of that stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure the dog loves cuddling with us, you know, gets all the dopamine and all that stuff. It's just like, you know, it's like a drug addict loves heroin. You know, I mean, it's not good, but it feels good to them, you
Well, I think
know?
it's just, I think there's just, it just, there needs to show like a balance of things, right? I think that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing. Like, I don't have a problem with the dog sleeping in the bed or being on the couch or whatnot, but there just goes like, can you get your dog off the bed? Can you have your dog sleep on its dog bed or in the crate and it not be an issue? Or if you do that, if you do put them in the crate, are they going to bark and whine because they're not in the bed with you? Like, these are imbalances.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you need to create the balance for those things to bring it, to have just like a nice, healthy relationship where it's not just skewed to one side.
Yeah.
Um,
And oftentimes, in order to even get to that balance, it's like we have to, you know, we have a dog who knows nothing. So I need to go heavy on this side to help balance this part out, you know? So it's like, yes, we need to go heavy on the structure, show the dog what we want them to be doing, how we live, how we do things, and then we can start to move into the middle
yeah,
here. But it's like we're on two extremes, you know?
exactly. And then if you go like this, though, you go like this, and then it's like you go heavy on the structure. So this is kind of going away. And then when you kind of bring it down this way, it's like you got too much structure as the dog has progressed. Now it's just like, now you got to like remove that so you can find again. You got to find the balance because otherwise you just
Yeah.
got a dog with a life of a dog where it's just constant micromanaging. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it's like you got to like find this balance where it's just like, yeah, we just go here. You can
Hmm.
always add this and remove this, which is going to affect the dog over here.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know. So well,
Um,
it's 11:24. Do you want to pause and see if we
all
got
right,
any
yeah,
questions?
we'll take a little pause here for a second. If anyone has any questions, you know, if you have any observations in your personal life with your dog, what your experience has been, you can, you know, share it along with people.
And if you're watching
Um,
this later on, comment.
yeah, if you watch this later on, comment, we'll answer those up. But yeah, any questions, observations, anything on your mind? Just leave it open for a second here. How's
Cool.
everyone's Saturday going? I was looking at all my plants today and I got several new plants come, you know, new leaves coming in. I've been
I know.
fertilizing them each week and they are growing and it's
I don't even want to talk about my plants, man. I
like
had
look at these bad boys.
yeah, those look good.
This one
Nice,
here,
nice and lively.
this one here, this little leaf right here, like dude, seriously, like a week ago, it was like an inch. It's grown
Oh wow,
so much
it's that
just
fertilizer.
just in like a couple of days.
I need to. So we have a lot of our plants have they've been suffering lately, and the other day Marcelo grabbed a leaf from like a low end of the leaf on our what do you call it? The mother-in-law plant, mother-in-law snake plant, and totally ripped it out of the pot. And
Oh
so
god.
I had to like kind of like really quickly like try to like replant it, but I need to change the soil out now. And it's like, and that's like one of our big plants. And so it's like
Oh gosh. So we got a nice comment here from Front Porch Books, the foster. I went from free roam dogs to having a kennel structure. Now I see how stressed my previous dogs were. What I thought was normal was actually a lack of guidance. That's excellent. And what feels great is watching my dogs happily kennel themselves without being asked because they know the routine. Yeah, that's great.
And here's the thing, just to go, I'm going to add on your comment here. So just like, it's like, how do you feel with that now? Right? How did you feel beforehand? And then how do you personally feel with more added structure and with the dogs?
Yeah, that's
Because like
great. Yeah.
I know for me personally, like when I was like, back in the day, I had a dog and it's just like, yeah, you do whatever you want. I take you out and it's just like, ooh, how's this gonna go? What are you gonna do? Like you can feel the stress from that. And when you kind of like start adding the structure and it becomes predictable for you too, like you start to feel better.
Uh-huh. Oh, uh, yeah, and less damage to the house. They say that they have so much less stress um from having that. Like, and that's part of it too, I mean, that's one of the things that we always talk about with clients is like you bring in this structure and all of a sudden there's like a weight lifted off. Um I mean, I'm sure you can recall this too, Shane, but when it was Mayawa, Zuma, and Oso in the house, and once we started doing like place work with them, like all of a sudden the house just felt so much more relaxed. Like
Yeah.
when we
Well,
started having them go lay down on their dog bed, it was like because now we weren't potentially tripping down the stairs going to do laundry because the dogs would follow us around everywhere and like just this like constant mode. Even though they would
well,
nap a lot, they would definitely be asleep. Like it wasn't
oh
all the
yeah.
time, but
Well, I think one of the biggest things for me, dude, was like Osa would go after Zuma,
yeah,
and it wasn't all the time, but it would happen enough.
yeah,
And so you just be like, is this a moment? Is this the moment? Is this the moment? Is this the moment? Is this the moment? And when you kind of, you kind of remove like some of the guesswork, because it's like, all right, I'm having you lay down. It's like, okay, I know you're not just gonna like run and charge Zuma right now.
hmm,
Hop off your bed and run over there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and it's like I remember when you guys went out of town one time, dude, and like I was watching the dogs, and I had Oso, Meow, and Zuma sleeping in the bed, knowing damn well that Oso had freaking attacked Zuma like I don't even know how many times. But
yeah,
yeah, here, all three of you get underneath these blankets. When I don't, I was oblivious that this could happen again at any moment in time. But sleep in the bed with me here, like under the blankets.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
naive.
Not the best choice. I mean, luckily nothing happened, but
Yeah,
could you imagine like if something did happen, like you're just dead asleep, and then all of a sudden dogs are fighting under the
yeah,
covers? It's like
yeah. That's,
stressful. All
yeah.
right. So next
Next point.
topic, and this is something that definitely happens often with people too, is the delayed reveal. The first 2 weeks, dog seems perfect. They're just like walking on the leash amazingly. They just chill in the house. It's like I got the perfect dog. I totally lucked out. And then it's lit like I mean, this is something that we have both heard many occasion is like 2 weeks later, the dog is different. All of a sudden it's pulling on the leash and being reactive on the walks. It's barking out the windows now. It feels like it's on a hair trigger all the time. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the dog is comfortable now. It's like I remember reading this thing or listening to this thing a long time ago about when we like go travel, and like you go stay in a hotel or something like that. And it's like the first night, the first 2 nights, you're in a brand new space. You might not sleep very well, because you're just not used to the sounds. You're not used to the environment that you're in. But then, we have an ability to acclimate pretty quickly. and so we sleep better because our like survival brain is less activated. Um, but I think that's only because we have we have a bigger brain. We have a prefrontal cortex, right? So I think we have a bigger ability to understand when something is not a threat. And so I think for our dogs, again, going back to this like predator prey model that they exist in, they're going to be in a heightened space a little bit longer because there's just so much novelty around things. Like again, because they don't understand this, they don't understand any of this stuff. If they came from a farm where there's no traffic and now they're living in downtown Portland and there's traffic all over the place, like they don't know what the hell a car is, you know? So it's like, I gotta watch out for that. I gotta watch out for those noises, you know, like I gotta watch out for other dogs. I gotta watch out for garbage trucks and trash cans and you know, but they are around these things enough times. They start to be like, okay, maybe I don't have to worry about that. It's not didn't hurt me or anything. And so it's like after, you know, a little bit of familiarity being built, the dogs just become more comfortable, you know.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you start to see the true dog start to come out.
Yeah. Dude, I remember seeing that with boarding trains that would come in. You know, when we get dogs coming in, and it's just like, yeah, that first week, they're, you know, it's like, wow, it's like reactivity, like pull on the leash, like you seem all right now, you know, but then it's like, you know, you get to know the dog, right? You're working with them, and they like, yeah, okay, this is pretty good. All right, yeah, I feel great. Oh, look at there's that dog. You know what I mean? Like, and you're just like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Somebody's loosening up,
They
you know.
walk
But then
well
you can
because they're unsure.
because they're unsure. But once they start to feel good, then they start venturing out, you know, and it's like, oh
Uh-huh.
yeah, this is okay. Yeah, this is what I do. This is what I know. Um, but you know, they'd come out of their shell, and
Yeah.
again, just getting comfortable, and so they're like, all right, yeah, this is it.
Front porch books. Have you ever observed this with your dogs? Like, you know, or I mean, you say you foster, so maybe with like adopters and stuff like that. If you know the dogs appear one way, and then a couple weeks later, you know, behaviors that weren't around start to surface.
Um,
I just threw that out there, but we can continue on. So,
yeah,
yeah, you know, it's just like, and you know, so what this usually means with this like delayed thing, it's like again, it just goes back like provide more structure, you know, and it's not like you have to go ham on this stuff. Like, you know, working a dog for their food doesn't even need to be like sit and down. Like that would be too much. It would be like, can you chase this food on the ground? You know, can you eat from my hand? Just like super simple things that you're not asking a whole lot. Keeping your walks low, you know, like just it's like yes, you got to have the world be a little bit smaller for a period of time, you know, but just decrease excuse me, decrease your expectations, you know. It's like you got a brand new animal in your home. They don't know anything. They don't know you, they don't know the environment, they don't know anything. And then when you're like take them out and you're like we're going to go on a 30-minute walk and we're going to like walk for 5 miles, it's like you could just be putting a ton of stress and pressure on your dog without even realizing it. And I don't think people do because they're like dogs walk, you know, this is what we do. And um
they
you
might be getting a
do
walk
do
at a
that,
pool they're
but
not
you got
used
to do
to.
it systematically.
Yeah, you know, like, dude, like, you know, I think one of the biggest things is like you need to do things with your dog, but you don't need to do all the things with the dog, right? It's like, yeah, they don't need to go with you to the brewery right now. They don't need to go sit on the patio. They don't need to go to the coffee shop. Like, do stuff around your house. Hang out with them. Sit with them on the leash so they can settle. And like,
Yeah.
you know, tether them up.
They
Like,
don't need to be
just
meeting your friends right now. Like they don't
no.
need to do any of that stuff. This isn't like a
Dog
newborn
park.
baby where you're like, hey, you know, come look at the baby that we just had. You know, this isn't that.
And really, with that, even with that, kind of comes with other things too, right? So it's like more. It's like back in the day, people would like all kind of come and see the baby. Now people are more conscious about like illness and things of that nature, right? And so it's just like, my brand new baby, and you want to come over here and like, there's like 20 people wanting to touch the baby, handle the baby, breathing on the baby. It's like, have you been around anyone sick lately? Like, is this gonna be proactive for the baby in this particular moment? And it's like such a vulnerable state,
Yeah.
like uh so like it's not too different,
Yeah.
and so you just got to look at what's for the well-being, but as time goes on, it's like, yeah, like we got to start to introduce these things, introduce people, um but it shouldn't be the priority up front.
No, and also too, it's like I need to make sure that I can talk to this dog. Like before I start trying to introduce it to the environment, introduce it to people, can I actually talk to the dog and give it information instead of just being like, here's my friend. I hope it goes
Yeah,
well.
yeah, like, do you trust the dog?
Yeah. I think we might
you know
be too trusting, too
oh,
fast.
100%, 100%.
Like one thing I don't think people understand is that all dogs can bite. Let's
Yep.
see. Okay, I try to talk to people about how overstimulation shows up in people. We can't handle having a hundred new smells and sounds all at once. Yeah, totally. Like there's just so much overstimulation with dogs. Like everything is overstimulating. Like dogs have the ability to become familiar and neutral to these things, but initially it's like I don't know what the fuck that is, and they're going to proceed with caution with it. And yeah, it's just like you said, it's over. Everything is overstimulating.
Well, I think also when as time goes on, you start kind of doing some training and stuff. They can start to drown out all those other noises. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They aren't
Yeah,
they aren't loud like the other things are.
yeah, exactly.
Because in the beginning they're like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" But then it's like when you are that guiding hand, it's like there's trust builds up, there's rapport built up between you and the dog by just the things that you've done together, in like different contexts. But they're like, then you go out to this new space and you're like, yeah, nothing's changed. Still look to me here for this stuff. I'm here to talk to you. It's like the dog
Yeah,
can start to just like prioritize this instead of all of that.
yeah. You can trust me. You can trust my guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just like throwing them to the deep end and like, okay, you're on your own. Go figure it out.
Exactly. Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. So the next topic that we'll be getting into is like, how to
So
read your dog before
I'm
trying
just
to
going to chime in
fix.
really fast here again here. So, we've been at this now for it's about 40 minutes into this.
Oh yeah.
So again, if you're having problems with the dog, this stuff sounded familiar to you or anything of that nature, you can click the link in the bio on the Kindred Dog PDX page there and schedule a call. It's a free call where we're just going to talk about your dog, talk about goals, things you've been doing with them, where you want to get to, kind of talk about a plan of action to get to where you want to get to. It's a free call, super helpful. So if you're interested in that, book a call. We have online programs, things of that nature, DIY stuff. You can use to train your dog as well. So visit our kindreddogpdx.com and you can click on the link for training programs and find uh, home training stuff there.
Yes.
So, all right, let's go on to the next one.
All right. So next one is, how to read your dog before trying to fix anything. So again, these all play off of each other. The only way you're going to be able to fully read your dog is by slowing things down. If you're just doing all the things, your dog is going to be doing all the things. And it's going to be very hard to understand, how does this thing make your dog feel? What is your dog doing here? Right? It's like when they're just always doing, it's hard to see like what could the trigger be? What is it that's causing them to act this way? And so by slowing things down, right? This would be going back probably to like the walking example, for instance, like, all right, I want you just to walk in front of your house from mailbox to mailbox, whatever that distance is, 20 feet, 30 feet between the neighbors' mailboxes. And then you can observe like, okay, there's a dog coming across the street. What does my dog do? When it's just one dog, or a human or a car or something like that, instead of like just going and your dog is like, you know,
Yeah.
they're pulling on the leash, they're smelling stuff, they're just like, you
Pissing on
know,
that bush and that one, barking.
they're just overstimulated, and then they see the thing, and it's like that's usually what causes the reaction, is because it's things have just been like your dog was already amped up before you even left the house. They got more amped up as you got down the driveway, you know, and then they see this thing and then they're blowing up at it or they're running away from it because they're afraid. You know what I mean? Like it's it just goes back to too much too soon. Um, and so you got to slow things down inside of the house, like not giving your dog the ability just to like free roam, like you're almost setting them up for failure at that point. And then we're going to be like, oh shit, yeah, my dog's color reacted out the windows. Well, they are now because they've probably been practicing it, because they didn't know what this sound is and they're just doing what it is that a dog does to something that they don't know. I'm going to bark at it. But then that becomes a self fulfilling behavior because it feels good to bark at it because they got it to go away, like, so we got to slow things down in order to be able to observe what our dog is actually doing. When dogs are coming for a board and train, and yeah, we need to take them outside to go to the bathroom. But when we're going to start on a walk stuff, it's like, I'm watching you from the moment we open up that crate door and walking to the door. What are you doing in that moment? If you're pulling me, we're going to be working on this. We're going to like, I'm slowing you down. I'm slowing you down at the kennel. Like, what do you do when I'm just
Yeah, it's like it's
opening the
almost like you
door
like
up?
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like starting out. What happens when you like when getting you out of the crate?
You
You
just
know.
bust them out, so slowing things down is just so important because it gives you the ability to read what's going on. Again, like I'm going to, think about even going back to like jujitsu training, right? It's like at the very beginning, and maybe Shane can have the same, sort of experience, but I know for myself, like when I first started training, it was very spastic and fast, and I'm just like, almost where I don't even know what I'm doing.
No,
And
so and I
now,
think I. Oh, sorry, you go ahead. Finish what your thought
and
there.
now I'm 10 years into it, and someone has me in a tight spot, and I'm like, still, like not, I'm not like not moving, but I'm like, okay, what is this? Can this arm do anything? You know, can this arm do anything? Can I shift my body a certain way? Can I shift my body this way? What happens if I grab their pant leg? Does that cause them to try to like do, does that cause them to move, to think about, what is Ruben doing down there? Like, because then that can open up something for me
So
to like get out. But I'm slowing down so I can like assess where am I at right now. It feels like I'm in a bad position, but
so like let's look at this, right? I think so as you mentioned, spastic, right? And I think as like a newbie, you're focused. You're not focused on like the middle of things, right? You're focused on the end, and you want to complete whatever it is. You're learning a new move. This is the how you do the arm bar. Here's a triangle, and it's like, go! I got to lock this up really quick so I can get this submission, right? I got to get this dog out for a walk. We got to walk to the park. We got to get to the. We got to do all the shit. I got to get. I got. How do I? I got to get into the mount. I got to get out of the mount super quickly. Like it's very focused on the end, right?
yeah.
And it's not about getting to the end. It's like, well, it is, but it's like how you get there, right? And you get there through these fine little details. And only are you by going slow and really looking at what you're doing and how you're doing in them, are you going to actually find that pathway, right? To find how to actually do the triangle. Oh, put your foot on the hip. You got to, raise your hips up. You're going to kick the leg over. You're going to put this leg here. You're going to close it up. You know what I mean? Like you have to find all of the little details in order to actually understand the technique to get to the end point, right? Just like, oh, right, you want to take the dog out for a walk. All right, go slow, right? What's the dog like coming out of the crate? It's not about just getting outside and then going for the freaking walk. It's like, okay, it's got the crate. What is it like when I put your leash on, when I put your collar on? Like, what do you like coming out? What do you like going to the front door? Right? What happens when we step out of the front door? What do you look like?
Or
All
how
these
do we
little
head to these
details.
steps? Like, yeah, it's just
Exactly. All
every
the little
single moment.
details that when you start to like really focus on the little things, the small conversations, and then you actually can actually have a better walk when you get outside and start working on those kind of things, right? It's no different than, the too much freedom too soon, right? Oh yeah, I want to give you all this good stuff right now, but it's like, no, you got to focus on all the small little details in order to work towards the big picture. Like
Yeah. Your dog
that's
isn't dumb. They're going to know that, like, oh, so when if I am putting pressure on the door and trying to rush out, the door closes. But when I back up, the door opens and then I get to come out. That's going to happen
mm-hmm.
faster. The first day, it might take 50 times of like, hey, no, this is not how we come out. But then the second day, it's going to be 30 times. Then the next day after that, it's going to be 15 times. And then the next day, it's going to be no times. It's going to just be like, oh, yep, I wait.
Exactly.
And then you get to
You
come
know,
out. And then it's like but you are adamant at each one of these steps. And your dog's just going to know, oh, yep, this is the way to get to the thing that I want the fastest. I'm just going to go to this because every time I do the opposite, we don't do the thing.
exactly.
And it's the nature
It's
of the dog to do whatever it is that they need to do in order to get what they desire. If rushing out of the crate and bouncing at the door equals getting the leash put on them, that's what they're going to do because that's what you like, or that's what you have said. This is the behavior that gets the leash on you. And this is the behavior that gets the leash on you, and we head outside fastest, you know. But if you're adamant about those other little small details, your dog is going to go to those things. They will, and then you're just going to have a more pleasant experience. You're going to have a much better walk. You're going to have a much more relaxed dog in certain scenarios. Um, so yeah, that's a really good point, Shane. Like we're all just so many times with the dogs is like they're so focused on the end. It's like I got to get to the thing, and this reminds me of just a quote that I have written down for myself, which is like when we let go of expectation, there is peace. And it's like when we come to our dogs, it's like I gotta let go of the expectation of like going for a walk. I'm still walking my dog even though it's between two mailboxes.
exactly.
It just looks
Exactly.
different.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
And
people
it's like
across the street might be like, what are they doing walking between two mailboxes? They're not gonna understand, but they're like, I'm training my dog on how to walk on a leash. I'm training
exactly.
my dog what it means to walk with me outside on a leash in this neighborhood.
Yep.
And right
Or hey,
now it's this big.
exactly. Or it's like I have my dog on a leash inside the house because I'm showing it what the rules and structure are of being in the house.
Hmm.
Without it, you do whatever you want.
People won't
Open the
understand
floor
that
over
at
there,
first.
Exactly.
They
You
don't they don't
know,
see that they only see the end result. They won't see all the work. And they're gonna come over and they're gonna be like, holy crap, how come your dog is so chill and like they can just lay on the bed when we're all over here? It's like because I work on it and I train it all
exactly.
the time.
Exactly.
So for moments like this, when you're over here, my dog isn't acting like a psychopath and jumping on you the whole time,
Yeah.
you know? So slow things down. That's how you're going to read your dog. That's how you're going to know, like, what's up with them. Okay. All right. So we got 10 minutes left. Real quick again, we're just going to, if anyone has any questions, observations, you want to
Hey,
chime in about anything.
while we're waiting for some folks to bring something up, I had someone I posted up on a story that we're going live, and someone actually asked a question,
Oh,
and they were
yeah.
talking, and they asked about when do you uh, uh, like check for bite inhibition, resource guarding, reactivity with the dog that you brought home, and then like how long should you do that? Like, how long should you wait to do those things? And so, one of my thought with this from this question was Well, one, if you just brought the dog into your home, wherever you got the dog from, like these should be things that should have been noticed ahead of time and been informed to you as the new dog owner, right? You shouldn't really be coming into this with like a guessing game of what behaviors the dog has that could be potentially dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Especially like if you got a house with kids and whatnot. So it's like the where you got the dog from should have like kind of taken care of that for you. However, like how would you go about like finding these things out? And when I saw the question, it made me think it's just like, all right, I'm not gonna just go and like feed my dog and then start trying to stick my hand in the bowl. Be like, are you gonna guard this food? Or are you gonna bite me? It's like I think with this stuff, like, with like resource guarding and like reactivity, it's like you need to observe the dog, right? Like you have to observe them. And then so it's like with that question the topic we just had about slowing things down, it's like that's exactly how you're going to observe these things. Yeah, I'm out with my dog on the leash. We're just kind of walking around like in the front yard, front space. And it's like, sees a dog. Oh, look, it's blowing up on a dog. All right, it's reactive. I can see that. Why? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't need to take it to the Saturday market to see that. It's like this is happening right outside. It's a very calm environment, and this dog is walking by, and now my dog is blowing up at it. You know what I mean? Or it's like I have my dog. I don't know. Like I'm having it on its bed. I'm tethering it to its bed, and now it's like I'm starting to walk past it, and I hear this like a little grumble. Like, oh, that's interesting. You know what I mean? I have a leash on the dog, so I can grab that leash. I don't need to like do anything, but it's like I want to observe the dog through its day-to-day life. That's how I'm going to establish these kind of things, not necessarily by putting the dog in a predicament to where it's going to practice the behavior. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to force it to come out of the dog. Like I want to see what it does in this like its movement and just like how it behaves just naturally as what's going on. But I was like that's obviously going to happen through just some structure, right? In everyday life. But I
Hmm.
got to structure things up so I can make it be very clear. Guess what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And, like the resource guarding, like all of those things too, I believe are like relationship issues.
I
It's
totally
like
agree.
the dog is resource guarding because they had to, or they felt like they could. And
They,
it's like, hey, I'm actually going to work you for your food. No, you can't just grab a toy whenever you want it. Like, I'm going to grab the toy and we're going to play together.
yeah.
Like
Or
you're
it's like
going to
if you have
show the
multiple
dog that they
dogs.
don't need to resort to these things.
Yeah, you bring
You
a new
know,
dog in and you got multiple dogs and you're feeding them. It's like I'm not gonna feed you all three right next to each other, bowls to bowls.
yeah,
It's like I probably feed you all in crates.
yeah, exactly. Like you're going to create safety through through structure and predictability, and then your dog, very
Oh,
likely won't need to resort to those
I don't need
things.
to resource guard. I don't need to
I
try
don't
and
need
fight
to
someone.
act aggressive.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think Shane was right, to like your rescue, whoever you adopted this dog from should be telling you like, hey, this is what your dog is like. So be mindful of that. Um, and you obviously should be knowing like what you're getting yourself into. But like again, structure goes so far. Again, we worked with aggressive dogs. Shane particularly was working with this little dog who no one could put leashes on him. And we just threw this, hey, we're gonna play, I'm gonna work you for your food so we can have clear communication. And now I'm like practicing putting a leash on you, giving you food, like
his collars, man. It was putting collars on him.
putting collars on him. And then Shane could put collars on him, like
Scratch his neck. He loved it. He actually loved
yeah.
getting the collar put on.
And beforehand, he was resource guarding a couch, and blankets or whatever. And it's just like relationship, people. Relationship is everything. If you're just a roommate to your dog, they're going to treat you like a roommate.
Yeah.
And those are the facts. Um, all right. Last one thing that shelter dogs need more than training. I'd say I'd say a predictable leader.
Yeah. And
Someone who's going to guide them and show them the way.
I'm gonna go ahead and just go back to like the very first thing that we had, right? Structure.
Structure. It's what they
Structure.
need. Structure first, then, show them the way and then give them the ability to make choices. Because then you can guide
Mm-hmm.
them on what's the wrong choice, what's the right choice, but you've established a history. You've
You know,
established a rapport with your dog that puts you in a position to say yes and no.
exactly. So, I think one of the things is just, as I just thought about this, right? So it's like, you add the structure in, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm not focusing on training. I'm just focusing on like, this is what we do. This is what we're doing. This is the way. This is how it's going to be done right now, you know? And obviously through that, like that takes time. You know what I mean? It takes time to do that, to implement this structure. You're going to be doing that for a bit. And through this time, the dog's getting to know you, you're getting to know the dog. Yeah. You want me to keep chatting?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're you're getting to know each other. And through that time, you can start to bring in other aspects, right? Like you're going to start to probably do some training, right? You're going to start to start asking for a little bit more from your dog, right? So it's like through the structure, and then you start training, you then start to open up their ability to make choices because you are kind of bringing down how much management you have. But this is also through the training, you've created words and meaning to that's good, this is not. I can disagree with things, I can agree with things. And so your structure is here. You can start to like you're building your relationship up. So you start bringing in some training. You're starting to build like communication with the dog. So now it's like the structure can start to kind of come down as you're bringing these other things up to again to bring this balance happen to make this balance happen. And ultimately, that's how you're going to have your dog be really trustworthy, right? And you're going to trust your dog because you've developed rules, you've developed a relationship, and then you're developing your communication. And all this happens through time, right? It's not going to happen in the first 2 weeks. It's not going to all happen in the first month. Um, but as time goes on, you're going to really make the headway in developing just a clear understanding of what life is like together, and how to best live together. And obviously, you'll be taking your dog out as you progress with stuff to like yeah, we go to the park. You put you on the long line, or I train you to be off leash, and you can really start to do all of, like the fun things together as you move through life. Um, but it all takes time, and it all starts with building up the structure, which is going to then start to build up your relationship, which you'll start to build in with more training, the communication aspect of things, and you can just go from there.
Yeah. Sorry to go to the bathroom.
All good.
All right. It's 11:59. So that is the live for today. We covered what do you need to do, what do you should focus on when you bring a new dog home. So for those of you who just joined, uh, unfortunately we are ending it, but you can watch the replay. We're going to post it here on Instagram. I'll also probably download it and post it up onto YouTube as well. You can catch the other two lives that we just did as well over the last couple of weeks, also on YouTube. Lots of good information in there. Um, Little nuggets, That's always the thing about these lives. It's like you could be talking about one topic and then like other things are going to just be in there, and those could be game changers, game changing information for you and your dog. So for those of you that joined us today, thank you for joining us. Also, last thing, uh, if any of this stuff in this live is pertaining to you or you have questions about your dog, um, click the link in our bio, Kindred Dog PDF. Click the link. We can do a free phone call. We can talk about your dog. We can get you on a game plan. We can figure out what maybe program would be best for you. We have online training courses, a DIY one, and also what we call a 4-week essentials, where there has weekly coaching calls, but this is like, 4-week sort of um, condensed version, but it gives you the fundamentals of what to work on with your dog. And we say this stuff all the time. The fundamentals are where it's at. If you're ever thinking about, gosh, my dog could be better, or I'm tired of X, Y, and Z, or something like that, go back to the basics. Just like go back to the basics. Even if you've done the basics, go back to them, revisit them, see if you can tighten anything up. Um, there's a lot of value in that. And I do that all the time in so many different areas of my life. I will start over. Maybe I missed something the first time around, you know? Like I was talking with a friend of mine in my dance class, and I show up to class a little bit early. You know, my dance class isn't until like 7:15, and I usually show up at like 6:45, 6:50 or something like that. And I participate in the salsa one. You know, I've been doing salsa two for like 4 months. Um, and the teacher, I will see something new in the salsa one class that I haven't seen in my salsa two class. Just something really basic. It could be a footwork thing or something, but it's like there's always something
Always something.
to
It's
learn.
funny that you mentioned that, because it's like, you're gonna hit a 10-year mark in jujitsu here soon. I've been doing jujitsu for like 10 years and a couple of months now. And I tell this to the white belts all the time. I'm like, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've seen like this particular move taught over 10 years. Like, say like a basic armbar from the guard. And it's like, I've seen it taught from, I've been to one, two, three, four different jiu-jitsu gyms. Okay. So that's four different coaches that are teaching, that I've learned moves from. And like, everyone is slightly different. And it's like, I may see it be taught from the same coach a couple of times, but it's like every time I see it, I get a new detail. And it's
Yeah.
slight, just the most minuscule detail, but you're like, oh, that's good. That's a good detail. Like, that is really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like as you gain experience, like what you notice becomes, you can notice even the smaller details, right?
Hmm.
Like you can kind of laser in on certain things, because again, you're not just worried about the end. You're like, what's the filler, right? Like,
Yeah.
what builds this thing up, and so you can really focus in on these other little things. And so again, it's just like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen an armbar from the guard be closed or be taught, but I definitely will, like, I constantly always saying like, I'm cool with learning just the basics of the basics, because I'm always
Yeah.
going to get something new from it, always. And
Hmm.
this is like, with over a decade of practice, and so it's
Yeah.
just like, you can't skip the basics.
No. Yeah. I was just in another dance class, and I do these socials, and they have a lesson beforehand most of the time. And even then, they're doing a very basic one in the beginning. And it's like, even just how they're teaching it shows me something different. Their footwork might be a little bit different. And then I just apply that to what I've already been doing. And they were even encouraging, like, yeah, take different dances, learn different things, because it's going to influence like maybe your main thing, and I just thought that was like super helpful. And it it pertains to our dogs so much as well. It's like Shane follows different trainers, I follow different trainers, and we see stuff that we like from different ones, and we pull from it, and apply it. And uh yeah, just you can
Don't
always
skip the
learn something.
basics.
Don't
Don't
skip
skip
the
the basics.
basics. Okay, so our DIY Calming Connected course covers the basics in detail. Okay. The 4 week essentials covers the basics in detail, and you can ask me questions directly. Um, and I think I might even start adding in the option to send in video as well, just so you can get some more direct feedback on the things that you're experiencing. So, anyways, that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us. Again, this will be on the Instagram page as a replay and also on YouTube. And hit the link in the bio to schedule a call. And maybe we'll work together. All right.
All right.
So hope you'll have a great Saturday, and we will talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.